Well, Steve Bannon has been saying out loud for a long time that Donald Trump will be president in 2028. And any time that I have ever brought this out and talked about it, people meets me with, Brando, now they won't do that. They're just joking. Folks, Steve Bannon is not joking. And Donald Trump putting out this line of merch with Trump 2028 and having these hats and showing them off to his friends, you can sit back all day long and say that he's joking, or you can use your common sense and say that if he would stand in the way of the peaceful transfer of power on January 6th and incite a riot on the nation's capital, and the only reason he left back then was because there were people who checked him and wouldn't let him go overboard, now he has surrounded himself by loyalists. He is building a ballroom. Do you honestly think someone building a ballroom like that has any intention on leaving? Do you think he's going to build that ballroom and let Gavin Newsom have parties in it? I really don't think that's where his mind is at. So we're going to watch this clip together of Steve Bannon being interviewed. I want to watch it together because I'm going to pause it at certain points and react to it. So let's bring it up here on the stage. I want you to see this. And to anyone out there that says he's joking about this, folks, this man is not joking. He means it. And we need to take this very seriously. Take a look.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off.
Okay, I'm going to stop him right there because I have said many times here on the channel that when you go back to JD Vance's never Trump guy comments and his America Hitler comments, he did say back then that Trump might prove to be useful. When Bannon talks right there about getting things done and them having to complete their mission, he's talking about Project 2025, the thing that Donald Trump said he had nothing to do with and then brought in Russ Vought and put out that ridiculous video or reshared that ridiculous video of Russ Vought as the Reaper. These people are not joking about this, folks. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but I've got a copy of the Constitution laying on my desk, and it says that no president should serve a third term. Steve Bannon has no problem with this, and you notice what he's saying. He is divine. This is divine intervention. These people are a cult that truly does believe that Donald Trump is appointed by God. And notice what he said. He's not too churchy. He's not perfect. They have to say that because he does not have a Bible in my drawer too, and he does not live up to the teachings of Jesus at all. They realize that, but now they're trying to spin it that, well, he's not perfect, but he is the vehicle. There is not a Bible verse nowhere that tells you that in the last days God's going to send this imperfect person down here that you're going to use to restore Christianity. That doesn't exist. But let's listen to this dangerous fucker continue to spew his radical bullshit.
We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's in his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through Zanny and define all those terms.
But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And to those
Can the American people, if the American people, with the mechanisms that we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution?
They would be. Yeah, they absolutely would be. And he's going to go on. I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a spoiler. He's going to go along. He's going to continue to say that they voted Trump in, and this is what they want. It might be what they want, but it goes against the Constitution. I don't care what a bunch of deranged cultists wants out of this deal. I do not. I do not give two shits what this idiot wants or what any of the deranged cult members, and I'm not going to compare them to the Manson family anymore because it's an insult to the Manson family. These people are absolutely okay with shredding the Constitution. And so if Trump gets it, he says he at least needs one more term. Okay? So to the Steve Bannons of the world, if the will of the people says that a Democrat could have 5 terms, are you going to be okay with that? Really? Are you going to be okay? What if a Democratic president gets in and says, hey, I got immunity and I'm just going to call off the next election and I'll just stay in here till I decide to let you all know? Do you think that would go over in Steve Bannon's world? Of course it wouldn't. But let's finish up this disastrous clip.
That be turning over? Would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution?
Yes.
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
On his policy.
First off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people. Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so
Okay, I'm just going to stop it right there, and I'm going to say that in 2028, if we elect a Democratic president, and then we decide that he's going to stay for life, let's say it's Gavin Newsom. Let's just go ahead and say Newsom is our guy, and we put him up there, he becomes president, and then we, the American people, steps forward and says, you know what, screw the Constitution. We are just going to appoint Gavin for life. Because the people have spoken. Gavin won. So that they would not be for it. Folks, this isn't me being hyperbolic, okay? And I'm not trying to bring down the room. I'm not trying to discourage anyone out there because I know what difficult times we truly are in. But I just want to drive this point home. They intend to stay. They don't intend on leaving. And we are under a dictatorship at the moment. That's the way it feels when you have Donald Trump going out here and doing anything he wants. He will go out and attack boats in Venezuela and say, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to run that by Congress. He said that out loud. I'm not making that up. He said that. So this guy is going out there and going against the Constitution on every corner. And then they want to say, well, look at how he compromised. Oh, the government is shut down. I'm of the opinion the government is shut down because they don't want to release the Epstein files. That's where I think that one lands. But Donald Trump doesn't need the government open because he doesn't intend on following the rules of it at all. So I'm hoping we have a midterm, but I don't see him accepting the results of it. And when you got Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, and Tim Pool, the dude that was caught taking money from Russia, when you have those people at the Pentagon reporting back to you on what Hexet's doing, this is just straight up Russia. And the new ballroom looks a lot like the Russian one. And people will sit back and spend anything for this dude. So when they tell you that they wouldn't let Trump do certain things, or they don't think Trump would do certain things, or you're just being hyperbolic, or don't worry, they're not going to stay, that dude ain't joking. Steve Bannon is not joking, because at the end of the day, they realize that when they lose Trump, he said he's divine, he's a vessel, he's being used to do God's will. They realize, though, that once this guy is gone from their party, they don't have another cult of personality like it. JD Vance will not be able to carry on that act because he just comes off like a condescending, smug prick. He won't make it. They realize that, and they're going to ride Donald Trump. It's bigger than Trump, though. For those of you that's like, oh, well, Brando, Trump's just Trump, and he's just being Trump. We can't become desensitized to all of this. And what you got to understand is the people behind Trump, like the Bannons and the Steve Millers of the world, they are way worse, and they intend on staying. So buckle up, brace for impact. It's going to be a rough ride, and that's not me being hyperbolic. That's me pointing out the obvious. And how many times have we pointed out the obvious here on the channel only to be able to turn around and say, we told you so? I take no joy in saying we told you so. I take no joy in saying that people fucked around and found out. I don't. I never wanted us to be here, but we are, and we're going to be in for the long haul.